What's up, guys? This is Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the broader markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner. So, as far as the market's going, I just want to mention that Tesla got this massive rally with all the talk about the sales going up in China and some news about the robotaxi. But I am kind of concerned about something. When we look at SPY and the QQQ, we pumped and then we dumped this morning. And I just want to say that I think there's a good chance we're forming a top very soon. We have a double bearish divergence that keeps on forming on SPY and the QQQ. Also, we failed to take out the highs, the all-time high. And the last time we were at these levels, we got these big pullbacks. So we have a bearish divergence. The head and shoulder, the inverse head and shoulders like pattern is still valid, because if we do reverse here, we could be forming this right shoulder to form an inverse head and shoulders. And I think that so far SPY is going nowhere. We're struggling to break out, in my opinion, because we're slowly climbing, right? We're slowly climbing, but every time we climb, we end up just coming back down into our range. And let me actually pull up the 30 minutes time frame to show this more clearly. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. We're basically kind of stuck right now. And as the market tried to break out, we're just rejecting again, right? Same thing with the QQQ. We're just consolidating. We tried to break out. Now we're back below 625. So I presume that as long as we're not above like 625, at least for the upcoming days, and as long as we don't break like 630, I think the QQQ could also reject, and we could be returning back down to like 615. I think SPY is going to also reject and return to like 675 or below very soon, and FOMC could be the big catalyst that's going to take us down, right? There's also a bearish divergence forming on each of these charts that keeps on developing. And with the market kind of pumping and dumping, Tesla did the same thing. We pumped close to 460, which is what my target was yesterday. Very close, right? It was very close, not perfect. And then we came right back down. So if this is a top, it's possible Tesla gets a temporary pullback with the market if the whole market starts dumping. And Tesla could be returning to the 440 area, if not the 430s, or even below those levels, right? I think there's a good chance of that happening. Looking at the daily time frame, we also have a topping candle that could be forming. If we don't hold above 450 soon, I think we might be retesting it. There is going to be a risk of us returning to the 440s on Tesla stock, so please keep that in mind. There is some downside risk looking at the way Tesla is structured, in my opinion. So, with that being said, if the whole market does truly come down, I think this will drag Tesla down, and there's some risk of that. Look at the IWM. We love to reject off 252. This happened multiple times, and in this case, it could be happening again as we're rejecting off 252 again, which could take us back down to 250 and 248. On ES, for example, we have a bearish divergence. There's also a very symmetrical, not symmetrical, but like very nice inverse head and shoulders, because we're perfectly at where this resistance is right here, right? And if we get a rejection here, we could be forming a perfect right shoulder on ES. Same thing with NQ. We could be forming a perfect right shoulder, just like that. The same thing could be going on all over again. On Bitcoin, we're on a downtrend. We could continue to fall, so be very mindful of that. We could be dipping back down to like 84,000. There is some risk of downside. Tesla, once again, it could continue to retest 450 soon. If we can't hold it, I do think there's going to be a risk of some downside maybe next week, especially with the market coming down. So be careful. And Tesla is known for rejecting the 460s. So I do want to warn you guys to be very careful with Tesla at these levels. Nvda is rejecting unless we hold above 185. We're going to be favoring 180 and then 178 all over again. For Aapl, we have a head and shoulders like pattern. We could be retesting 278. If that fails us, we're looking for 275. On Palantir, we're a little bit more bullish. We're going to see if we could hold above 180. If we don't, we could be turning back down to 175. On AMD, we got a rejection. We're making lower highs here, so unless we hold above 220, we're going to be favoring a dip to 212. On Coinbase, we're technically making lower highs. Unless we hold above 270, we're favoring downside towards 265 and eventually the low 260s. On Amazon, we need to hold above 231. If we don't, I see downside risk for 225. Meta needs to hold above 666. We're trying to push a bit, but there is a risk of it rejecting. And if it does reject, we could be looking for a temporary pullback to 649. Google's looking a bit more bullish. It could be looking for a retest of 323, and we'll see if it rejects or not. And Microsoft has a double top rejection. Unless we hold above 483, we could be dipping back down to 475. Oracle also has a rejection move here, so it could be dipping back down to 211. We'll see how it goes. And finally, the VIX has a bullish falling wedge right here. So you see this wedge right here, it's basically telling us that the VIX may be forming a bottom soon, because we also love to bounce near the 15s. It's been doing this since the last couple of months. Since October, the VIX loves to bounce around here, and I think we're about to see a nice bounce with this falling wedge. So there's lots of confluence that tells us very soon, in a couple of trading days, I think SPY and the QQQ have major downside coming. I think we could be forming the right shoulder. This is not a crash, just a temporary pullback. I think we could easily start to retest these lows here in the 660s on SPY soon as well. And I think the QQQ is also going to be dipping back down towards the lower 600s. I think that we're going to be forming a top, but you have to give it some time. It may take a couple of trading days. It could take like a week or two, but we're going to get some kind of pullback, and that may drag Tesla down. So be careful at these high levels on Tesla stock. This is where Tesla oftentimes has rejected. Of course, I'm very bullish on Tesla. I just think we may get a temporary pullback one more time, and then we're going to be looking for a nice bounce again. But for now, just wanted to give you guys a warning about that. There is some downside risk on Tesla stocks to retest these EMAs. Keep that in mind. Thank you all so much for listening, and peace out.